Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm exploring today a no start on a 2009 Honda Civic that, well, just out of the blue decided that it didn't want to start anymore. And I've already got it jacked up because I've been working a little bit on what's going on with it. But you notice that when we try to start it, let's see if you can hear the clicking sound or not. Wait. Okay, so um, when I try and crank it, all I get is a click. Let's see if we can get this a little closer. And the sound, as I was able to confirm, is coming from the starter solenoid. But I wanted to go over a couple of things that you should check first. One of them is check your battery voltage. Now I have this set up here, checking voltage, and for the life of me I cannot get my, there we go, some focus. Checking for, this is open circuit voltage 12.4. I got the key on, that's okay. When I was cranking it, it went down to 12.3, so it shows that I got a little bit of a draw, but not enough. And it's also good to check your voltage drop. Now, of course, when I check the battery, well, that's only across the battery terminals, but what about from the battery to ground? Because if you don't have a good ground, say from this negative terminal to the engine block, which is grounded on the starter, if you've got a voltage drop there, it could be sucking up all the voltage and not letting you, not completing the circuit. So I'm going to do a voltage drop check between, yeah, doing this backwards here. Want to get a good solid feed from here to see if there is a voltage drop from the engine block to the battery. Now I'm on the battery negative, and you notice I got 4.4 millivolts. That's excellent. Another way to check that is to do a resistance check the same way, but you have to do that with the battery disconnected. Since I've got 4.4 millivolts of voltage drop, this tells me that I have a good circuit on the negative side. And considering that I do hear the clicking sound underneath, that would tell me that it is the starter solenoid, which on these models, starter solenoid is part of the starter assembly itself. And I'm going to try and get in here and point out the starter is impossible to see with my fat hand in there at the same time. You got the axle here. This is the starter. And the solenoid is, I believe on this one, it is internal. Okay, so I just wanted to catch you up with where I am right now. Taking off that central pipe there didn't take that much, actually. There's 2 bolts here and a couple of bolts there. I'm not sure if you can see them. And I was trying to figure out, okay, what do I need to do to get to the starter? The starter is held in by 2 bolts, 2 14-inch or 14 millimeter bolts. You can see my thumb right there on one of them, and then the other one is this really long thing on the top. Let's see if I can get a focus on it. Oh yeah. focus on it right there. If you can see the head of the, yeah, if I can see the head of, yeah, forget it. I'm not going to be able to show it to you. Just suffice to say that there are 2 bolts. And one of them is up on top, and it's a little bit hard to get at, but if you can get at it, you can get at it with a regular socket, regular ratchet and socket, and 14mm. I didn't do anything special to get to it. Once they broke loose, they're just finger tight, so I'm going to spin them out and then see where that gets me. Okay, so I just wanted to show you where I'm at now. I remember I was talking about having 2 bolts to deal with. This one is the one that's very obvious, that you can see from the bottom. It's good to recall now, when this is in the car, this 14mm bolt is right next to another one about this position that is a 17mm head. Okay, that 17mm head one is for the transmission. That will not do you any good. So you have to go for the 14. Both of these bolts are 14mm heads, and this one is the one that is kind of up and behind, and looking from the bottom is kind of hidden this way. So the nice thing is you can still get at it with a regular 14mm ratchet and a deep socket. One tip I would suggest: take out this bolt first, because if you take out the bottom one, the weight of the starter hangs on the bolt, and then it makes it harder to spin out. Other than that, my biggest problem was trying to fit my gorilla mitts into this tiny Japanese car. But it was nice and easy, and once you're able to get this loose, there's a single 12mm nut to remove the starter cable. Well, so that's it. That's the last thing. Just put everything back together the way that it was. Turns out that this car doesn't seem to have radio codes, and here we go. Starts up nice and quiet, and the only thing that I was really worried about in getting this car going again was if the exhaust pipe would come off, and the spring bolts on the exhaust manifold were a little bit finicky, but they did come off, and I put everything back together without using new gaskets, and it's nice and quiet. Forgot to mention there was a small bracket held in by 2 10mm head bolts and 1 12mm head bolt that is a mounting bracket for the intake, and had to take that off to get some clearance. But otherwise, she's ready to go.